bill. And I think the level of awareness of the budget making process and the finance bill as well has continued rising since 2024, when Gen Zs came up and opposed some of the provisions or proposals contained in the finance bill of that year. Now, it would appear that there are things in the finance bill which are necessary, but the level of discussion or discourse on the streets, even Gen Zs, we're not seeing it at the same level that we saw it in 2024. Why do you think that is?
Well, thanks for the opportunity, and I'm happy to be in the company of Sosion and the presidential aspirant. So I'm looking forward to a very solid conversation. Now, in the past, when we've been making our budgets in Kenya, in a good part, it's been a ceremonial process. And majority of the citizens have not had the opportunity to engage with it till the last minute. But when the Gen Zs went to the streets and they got support, overwhelming support from the entire nation, then people started paying attention. And it appears to me that the policymakers right now, they know, and they're well advised not to come up with what would appear to be very obscene proposals. You remember last time, the chairman of the finance committee, he went on a TV station to discuss some tax around, when you're driving your vehicle around town, that you need to pay a lot more tax. And he made the proposal in a very obscene manner, in a very condescending way. And then at the same time, you had some members of the Kenya Kwanza administration flaunting their wealth and assets, almost vomiting on our shoes. As you remember, the former British High Commissioner said that some of these are public servants. And there's no evidence that they've been generating wealth or creating employment opportunities. But as soon as they get into elective positions, overnight they become millionaires or billionaires, and then they start flaunting their assets. That is part of the reason why people are very bitter and they went to the streets. But this time round, the people at the National Treasury, they know that if you come up with obscene proposals, again, you can trigger demonstrations. That is why they've been very, very careful. To the extent that the only thing we are discussing now is 5% on mitumba and 25% on mobile phones. And in my view, even before you have a conversation about increasing taxation on mitumba, you need to give us alternatives, because there are so many people who depend on the mitumba. So even before you put the 5% tax, you need to create a certain environment so that Kenyans can afford, so that Kenyans now have got an option, either buying the mitumba or getting the locally used ones, even for the mobile phones. But I understand that there are a number of Kenyan manufacturers who are making mobile phones, and I hope that they're not subject to these 25%, so that we can start using our own internal resources. In many countries in East Africa, including Rwanda, they have no time for mitumba. So they force the local industries to grow. And one expects that with the 25% on mobile phones, the local industries would grow. And the presidential aspirant will tell you that anytime you are buying mitumba, you're creating opportunities elsewhere. Anytime you're buying these mobile phones, the top-of-the-range mobile phones, without giving out the brands, you are creating opportunities elsewhere. So for me, in my view, this is a very good thing. Let Kenyans have a conversation right now instead of coming at the tail end. But again, another unique aspect around the broad-based administration is about equity and equality in resource allocation. Because of a gentleman called Tom Boyer, who came up with the session paper number 10, you remember initially they said they were going to invest resources in areas which were described as productive. But that was a euphemism. The resources were going to be invested in areas where political leaders at that time came from. Right now, when President Ruto said that SGR is going all the way to Western Kenya, a number of prominent Kenyans did not know the difference between Malaba and Malava. And people were asking, where does Western Kenya need a railway line? Of what import is it going to be? Why do you need a road to Western Kenya? Now, some of us who come from Western Kenya have been marginalized for a very long time.
Okay.
And if we go granular, and I hope that you are not going to be attracting libel or slander, if I challenge anybody among the panelists to name the top 3 hospitals in Kenya, where are they located?
All right.
Top 3 boys' schools in Kenya, where are they located? Top 3 girls' schools in Kenya, where are they located? That is why you have to give the Kenya Kwanza administration credit on the equity and equality in resource allocation.
Okay.
And that is a component which cannot miss in this conversation.
Right. Thank you for that and for beginning that conversation from that point. Bwana Sossion,